Oh, come on. But listen, that question, what is love? It's a really, really heavy question. It is so loaded.
One thing about love, the Bible tells us it doesn't hold account of something that's done wrong to you as well. So because I love her so much, even though we have our ups and downs, it is this love, this action. I'm in it for the long haul.
Start taking note of the trauma that happened before. If you have, you can write it down, journal it, speak to therapists, speak to your pastors and bishops, and let them know what's going on in your life and what has happened in your life.
Welcome to And Such Is Life, the podcast, a podcast hosted by Jakyra McLeod, founder of Sessions of Hope. Are you ready to live life and live life more abundantly?
And such is life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast, And Such is Life. So I'm not going to talk for long, but today we have a very, very, very special episode for you all. Happy Valentine's Day from the And Such is Life podcast crew. I'm going to stop talking, and I am going to let our very first panelist introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donniel McLeod. I'm the Bishop of Inspirational Church of God in Christ Jesus. I'm also a chaplain, and I'm sitting next to my lovely wife for over 30-something years. I'm not going to say the exact year because I don't want to get in any trouble, but I'm just happy to be here.
Well, he introduced me, so I'm going to continue the introduction. I am Simone McLeod. I have the honor and privilege of being his wife for 33 years. I am a pastor. I am an encourager. I'll make you laugh. I'm a speech language pathologist. I love children.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julie. I am a case manager, encourager. I'm an evangelist as well. And I have been married to my wonderful husband for almost 8 years coming up in May.
My name is Jon McLeod. I am a producer. I am an entrepreneur. I own real estate all over Connecticut. I also am a career and life coach, and I also like to invest and build apps. And I am a minister in the ministry. I run all the behind-the-scenes camera production and social media stuff, and that's my passion.
All right, so amazing set of panelists. They all happen to be my family. So we're really just going to delve into today's topic. And because it's Valentine's Day, we had something very special prepared for you all. And the topic is, let's talk about love. So let's talk about love. Let's really get into it. So whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're in a relationship, whatever you are, just know that you are loved. And we have these amazing panelists to let you know how loved you are. So our very first question for today is, what is love? What is that? What is love?
Being that I am a gentleman that's in love, I'm going to let my wife answer it first.
Oh, come on. But listen, that question, what is love? It's a really, really heavy question. It is so loaded. And I was sitting thinking about this question. I often do. And I think of love as a performance. And it's one big performance that never ends. Love is an action, not abstraction. So when we think of a performance, we think that at the end of the performance, the light goes down and you might remember what you heard, what you saw. But when you think of love, it's a performance that never ends. And here's why it's a performance. Because it could be mediocrity or it could be superiority. Either way, it's an action that we show someone. And when we think of love, we must also think of the fact that it is performed in some form of action to a person, place, or a thing. And it's subjective and it's objective. The objective portion is what's based on God's word, kingdom principles. The subjective portion of love is man's interpretation of what is love and their definition of what love is. I don't want to take it all over. I'm going to pass it back to my husband, and he's going to continue what he thinks love is. But I know what love is.
Well, I could say this because, over 30 something years, I've been in this, and I've been in love with my wife, and it's a strong feeling of affection. We know that's the generic meaning of love. But she touched on something. Love, it is an action word. The magnitude of the love that you have for that individual is going to show in some way of, you said, performance, in some action of yours. One of the actions that I'm still here. Why are you still here? I'm still here because I'm in love with this woman, this strong feeling, this strong affection through all difficulties. Because one thing about love, the Bible tells us it doesn't hold account of something that's done wrong to you as well. So because I love her so much, even though we have our ups and downs, it is this love, this action. I'm in it for the long haul.
I would say, like they both said, love is an action word. And from the younger generation, what do we consider as love? Like sometimes it's acts of service, things like that. But like you said, through the ups and downs, it never wavers. Love is kind. Love is patient. Love is forgiving. So through, I've learned love is true action word, at least for me and my husband, because we're still together. So it's just, love is never waving. It's never leaving you. It's never a question if this person loves me or not. So love is a performance, and it will never die.
What I'll say is, it's also a commitment. All the things that you continue to hear is a commitment to an action, a commitment to completion, to continuing to do this. Why can someone be with someone for 30 years? Because it's a commitment, and it first started with God committing to us, even though he knew we were going to mess up. So love is the commitment to the person, who they truly are, regardless of their mistakes. And when you start to see about the history that was started with our King is, I know you're going to mess up. I'm not going to allow you to be, I know you aren't going to be perfect. I know what perfection is, but even though that's not you, I love you. Your love is not based on the actions or that you say you were going to do, but then fail at. So for me, it's commitment, and it's commitment is wrapped up into so many things that we say and do.
I love that. And to the audience, take your notes, because this is knowledge, okay? Okay, so what does true love look like? What does that look like? Because I feel like in my generation, we have our own ideals and ideologies of what that looks like. And sometimes I don't agree with it. So what does true love look like?
Just to kind of piggyback off of what Jon said, one of the things about God, he loved us regardless. He knew exactly what we were going to do, the mistakes that we were going to make, but it did not stop him from still coming and sacrificing himself because of the love he had for us. So we follow a pattern, because there has to be a template. And one of the things about love looks for the best in one another. So regardless if your spouse is having a bad day, and then you're trying to do all you can to ease that load, to make their lives a little bit easier, or they may be having certain experiences, but I'm looking to try to give her a new set of hope, to look at things in a different light. So love also looks for the best in that individual. We want the best. We desire for them to have something more.
So I'll tell you what love is and what love is not. Love is not yelling at him when I don't feel like cooking, you see. But what love is even though I came home at 7:00, I change real quickly, I wash my hands, I get in that kitchen, and I start to do dinner because I truly love him. And I want to go back to foundations, right? A lot of people say, love is love. No, love is not love, because when you say that, you're jumping into the subjective. But I want to go back, right? And I want to state just a few. And the first one is love is patient and kind. That's where the commitment comes in, right? It does not envy or boast, and it's not arrogant. Come on, somebody. It's not arrogant. A lot of time in marriages, especially when it's as lengthy as ours, can get a little arrogant, right? Can get a little impatient. And it's the truth. And once we know who we love and why we're loving that person and the reason why we're still with that person, it helps us to remember what not to allow. Don't allow rudeness to get involved. Don't allow our own ways and our own ideas and our ideologies to get involved. And we bear up one another in all things. It doesn't matter how hard our day is or how light it is. We just keep bearing up one another, because that is the true definition of love, not the world standard. If you do this for me, or if you buy this for me, then he shows me he loves me. No, it's deeper and it's wider and it's broader.
Yeah, I agree. And I think for me, what love looks like is even in the times of struggle and the times where I'm not my best, he still loves me. When I'm sick, he's there. When I need help, even if I can't like bathe or shower myself, he's there to do it, and there's no judgment. And I look and at our vows through sickness and health, through rich or poor, through those moments of times where we don't have. I remember a time where I wasn't working, and he came and he gave me half of what he had. And he said, if I have, you have. So I see that as true love. No matter what we're going through, no matter the circumstances, it might not be what TV shows us. It might not be what people think true love is those times where you're not yourself. You're down and in the gutter, and you think that this person might not love me because I'm not rich or I don't have all these things. But when the person continues to show up in those moments, that's what true love is for me.
All right, so then Jon, how about this? So how did you use biblical principles in your relationship?
I love that question. One, because it is the foundation of how I live my life before it's the foundation of my relationship. So the relationship takes two people, two foundations that stack on top of each other, and the base of that is God. So I first had to fortify myself, like, okay, how does God want me to be as a man? How does he want me to look? How does he want me to speak, carry myself? And one of the things that I live by is one of my favorite scriptures. I was talking to my team about it, is he that desires to be the greatest among you must first be a servant. So how can I be a good husband if I'm not serving my wife like a servant? Meaning it's not about me. What does she need? And that's the foundation. All right, God wants me to serve. Then it's, how do I communicate with her and what's important to her in her life for what she wants to do and what God is calling her to do? Because then if it's only my ideology, then we're basing it off of just my thoughts. There's two of us in this. So it's communicating to her and asking her questions, understanding what her core values are, and then what does God want us to do together? What's our mission together? We have two children. They're like, we're raising them in the way that God would have them to go. And it's that foundation of, all right, I need to serve her. I need to consult God, serve her, communicate. And in turn, she will do the same thing. So it's that commitment to God's direction that kind of is like the foundation that keeps us going and keeps us locked in. And when you refer to the Bible, you see how many times he's directed, he's pointed at, and people that weren't perfect now, people that were in relationships that weren't perfect, people that didn't think they could have kids at an older age. And then God said, well, this is the plan. And people that think that, okay, my business is not I lost everything. Job, I lost everything. But when the foundation is God, and you have a spouse and her foundation is also God, when you stack that foundation is so fortified, there's nothing that can shift or break that.
As you said, base it on a biblical standard. Just as God, he loves the church, right? And he doesn't abuse us. He always wants what is best for us. He gave his only begotten son on our behalf. So that is the same mentality we should have for our wife. The Bible tells us, husbands, love your wife and do not be embittered or resentful towards them. See, these are basic principles. And just as God loves us and we're married to him, he sacrificed himself. So I'm willing to sacrifice for my wife. Why? Because I want her to have the best that she could have. That is part of my responsibility as me being the husband, as me being the man, and to follow the template that God left. He sacrificed for us. He gave himself. So I'm supposed to have that same mentality in my life. And one of the other things that men don't even realize at times is that the Bible tells us that we're supposed to love our wife and not to be bitter against them, because do you know that the Bible tells you that it could be a blockage to your prayers? So, and that is another story within itself. The scriptures lets us know. So your prayers will be hindered, as Peter said. So we have to remember those things, that when we, they say, try not to go to bed angry or let the sun go down on your wrath, right? Well, think about this. God is not going to respond to you. Why? Because you are out of the template he left you for you to treat the woman he has given to you, to treat her the right way.
Yeah, John, I didn't mean to say something. Go ahead.
No. I think, first of all, that's a brilliant.
Now, John, just think about all them prayers that didn't get answered.
Yeah, I'm like, man, should have sacrificed it a long time ago. But I do think that I love that, because, the caveat I want men and women to understand is that doesn't mean you are a slave. Let's put that out there. Let's put the halt button, because I hear a lot of women thinking, yeah, you're supposed to cherish me, and then a lot of guys think like, oh, right, now I can't disagree. Now that's not it though. It's to have respect and to treat her with love and kindness, but it's also that doesn't mean you lose your voice.
That's right.
And it also doesn't mean you get disrespected. Because that's not love.
Absolutely.
That's not love. You not being able to say anything. That's why I don't really agree with happy wife, happy life. Because wait a minute. This is supposed to be a two-way street. So if you're the only one happy, that's great for you in your little kingdom. But this is, we all live here. So it's a two-way thing. So I think that right there is profound, because it says okay, don't expect to get anything from God if you're not treating the person that God gave you and the relationship, the thing that God gave you, with love and respect. Why would he answer you? Why should he answer you?
That's true. Yeah. That's very true.
He is so on point, because one thing that Peter said, and I was just talking to my wife, he said, love your husband, telling the wives, encourage him and enjoy him as a blessing from God. So as he said, when he put us together, the two shall be one. If I want to be happy, I make my wife is happy, then, we're supposed to share this happiness together, because we came in as two separate individuals, but now we're coming together and we're one.
I do have another question.
Go ahead.
Because right off of that, and it's how can sometimes I see this a lot when I'm coaching, that people are looking for love, but they haven't loved themselves first.
Okay, perfect.
And so it's when I every time I read that scripture and I hear it, I see most people can't love their spouse. They're having trouble loving their spouse because they have insecurities that prevent themselves from loving themselves.
Yes.
And they don't know what self-care or self-love looks like because they're emulating what they've seen, which is maybe they've seen something flawed at home. Maybe they saw something broken or something that was non-existent, and then they're forced to make it up and piece it together the way they believe is right based off of what they're reading or seeing something that's not at home. And my wife and I were talking about it, I think earlier this week, about how the verse that says charity starts at home and then spreads abroad. And I said, we were talking, but there's a lot of things. Why would charity start at home? Because your immolation is in your house and in your home. Right. So charity starts at home. Love starts at home. The core of how you are, your characteristics, starts at home. Home could also be a metaphor for your home base inside.
Internal.
So
Yeah.
everything starts at home and then spreads out. So if you're confused as to why you can't find love, but maybe the person that loves you is going to love you has to first see you love yourself, because loving yourself is a boundary that we often don't create, and then somebody comes and respects that, and then a relationship can happen because it's like, I see how you love yourself, so then I'm going to love you that way. And now I could show you a different form of love. But most people don't have the base of self-love, so they never can know what accepting love really looks like.
And you're absolutely right. That's why a lot of times when women are looking for that person, that man, to be the source of their love, that's where the problem happens. Because when we don't know who we are and we don't love who we are and we don't have enough love for ourselves, how are we going to give love to someone else? So a lot of things happen in our journey, this thing called life, childhood, teenagehood, adulthood. A lot of things happen to people that cause them to not even truly understand what love is, and they don't really know how to love themselves. So they're looking for someone else to make them happy. They're looking for someone else to love them, and that's not fair to that person. You see, it's not fair. I don't expect him to make me happy. He's not in my life to make me happy. My relationship and my relationship with myself and with my Creator, my Lord and Jesus Christ, I know how to be happy with myself. And because I know how to be happy and I appreciate being happy and content and love, I can now have enough to give to him for the past 30-something years. It was not always like this. Life taught us a lot of things along the way, because I was one of those women that thought that he had to make me happy. That's not his job. That's not his responsibility. I have to know who I am, and the source of my happiness is not man, but the one who created man, the one who gave me the man.
Absolutely. On that thread, I want to pivot to our next question because I feel like this was a great segue. For someone who has dealt with past trauma, past hurt, past pain, right? How can they avoid bringing that into a relationship?
I would say start taking note of the trauma that happened before. If you have, you can write it down, journal it, speak to therapists, speak to your pastors and bishops, and let them know what's going on in your life and what has happened in your life. And then start taking note of the patterns. If you start dating people like your last person, note that you're falling right back into that trauma that you experienced. If you start noticing patterns from the person that you're dating similar to your ex or whoever, you should stop that relationship because you're falling right back into that pattern.
And, you know, one of the things I think is important in that situation is communication. You know, as a couple, let's talk about your past. Let's talk about the trauma. What did you go through? Because there are certain points in life that may trigger those emotions. And if the individual don't know what happened in your past, then when you come at them a certain way because you're remembering this used to happen, or my mother was abused, I'm not going to let you do this, then they're thrown off guard because they don't know, you know, what's going on in that situation. So communication is very important to share what you've been through, the trauma, and then you go through the process of trying to seek help in that area.
I'll add to that and say, you know, it's never okay not to communicate, no matter how bad it is. It's never okay not to, because as was previously said, if you don't communicate, it's not on them to do the right thing if they don't know that they're doing the wrong thing or the right thing. How are they supposed to know unless you say, like, hey, here's what happened? Because then you start accusing an innocent person of doing something that they didn't even know they were doing. And then now if, to your point, to my wife's point when she said, like, if you start to see things and then you leave if you communicate it. But don't leave if you didn't communicate, because you don't give that person a chance to fix anything. And you were doing the same thing my ex did, and I'm just not going to deal with that again. Well, I'm not your ex.
Right.
But had you told me, I didn't even know I was doing that.
Right.
I didn't know that trauma was still lingering for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that ability to communicate in what you say. And it's also how you say it too.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all come in with some kind of bags and it's filled with some kind of stuff. So now if my bag is full and your bag is full, who's going to start unpacking first? And it's the thing that it's like owning a home. Like I help push and get us a house. My wife is the one who made it a home. That's it. I like you. If you saw my apartment before I got her, you realize that I just need to survive. That's me. I survive. She took me from surviving to thriving. So it's getting with the right person allows you to then understand, like, okay, I don't have to deal with this or live with this. I can become better than what I've been, especially when I communicate.
And that is the performance of love. The more you love, the harder you love, the better you perform. And it's just that simple. When you feel like it and when you don't feel like it, you perform because you love so hard and so much.
Love that. So, how did you know that your partner was the one? Because I feel like, there's we have a ton of expectations. So how did you know? Like, how do we pinpoint, like, this is my person?
I often say, and I tell everybody, I never got bored. He constantly intrigues me. He's constantly coming up with new ideas. He's constantly challenging me to do better. And I didn't have that in previous relationships, and I just got bored. So I knew, for one, he loved God more than he loves me. Mm-hmm. Two, mm-hmm. he loved his family. Mm-hmm. And it's common if a man loves his mother, mm-hmm. see the way he treats his mother, and that's the way he's going to treat you. And it's very true. And then also, he, like I said, I never got bored. He intrigues me every single day, no matter what. And I know for
the girls in love.
Years. Yeah, that's how I knew he was the one.
I knew my best friend, my husband, my soulmate, I knew he was the one when he let me yell at him. And then he just looked at me like, okay, this woman done crazy. No, but seriously, on a serious note, I knew he was the one when I asked the person that introduced us. I said, how is his relationship with his mom? And she said, oh, they're very close. He's very respectful. He loves both his parents. He's very supportive to his mom and dad. And I said, okay, good.
And I could just say this. I knew that she was the one for me. We had so many things in common because we would work together. I would take her home. We would drive together, and we would have so many conversations. But we had so much in common. And it was just that connection. And even in our dreams and our ambitions, we were on the same page. And this was a woman I said, okay, I could grow with.
Now, I'll say I am a very different type of human being. I know.
We know, John.
So this quick story is I've known her since we were like very, very little. We've been around each other since we were little. I remember seeing her at 16 and thinking she was gorgeous. And then I see her again at 19 or 20, and our churches merged. And my grandfather, who is a legend, he's a legend. He said, look, he spoke to all the guys, but he was actually just looking at me. And he said, don't go in there and don't start no mess. And I was like, no. And he was like just staring at me. And I was like, okay. And I remember saying like, all right, I'm going to relax. And I was like, Lord, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I want her. I said, I know the leader said don't start nothing but her. And I was like, man, if she don't have anybody, she got somebody. And that was dead serious. She sent her brother to come get my number. And she was busy. She wasn't busy. But we went up, we started having a conversation, And I said to myself, I said, all right, God, I think it's her. Why? One, for the same reason she loved God. And two, she was serving him. It wasn't an act or like, oh, we're just going to talk. No, she was serving him. And then three, she's the only woman on the planet that knew how to handle me as a person without, I'm very driven. I'm very straightforward, aggressive. She is sweeter than sugar. So where my vinegar could be very tart to some people, she goes, and she kind of brings me in. Like she's my anchor.
I love that. Okay, so we are going to pause here. All right, audience. So that is the first 30 minutes of our Valentine's Day panel with these amazing panelists who happen to be my family. So we will see you all on part 2. We'll stay seated, but come back and join us for part 2 of our Valentine's Day panel. Love you guys so much. I'll see you next time, okay? Bye-bye.